The whole world watch. What we gonna be today? What are we gonna do, man? I need everything you got. Play with the guy beside you and find a way to win a football game.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Spins out of a sack, fires end zone, touchdown! He flipped it for 6.
It's Eight's time. You could just see it in his eyes. You could feel it in his aura, his energy.
Mahomes magic!
Oh, my!
We are taking for granted greatness.
2 up-and-coming greats just going toe-to-toe.
It is now official. We know that the NFL season will kick off at Arrowhead with an AFC Championship game rematch between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Adam Schefter, what more can you tell us?
We got the opening night matchup that everybody's waiting to see what it was, Dan, and essentially it pits the 2 former MVPs in Kansas City squaring off in a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last season that Kansas City won. The Chiefs went into Baltimore last year in the postseason, and now the Ravens will have the chance to go into Kansas City to open the regular season to kick off the 2024 season. It'll be a matchup that is highly anticipated, much discussed for the weeks to come, and it will kick off the 2024 season.
Much to discuss as we kick off the week in which the NFL schedule is going to be released. And that little tidbit, yeah, exactly. Middle part of this week. We welcome you to NFL Live on this Monday, casual Monday for Dan Orlovsky. I'm Dan Graziano, pleased to be joined by Dan Orlovsky and Herm Edwards, the coach, and Adam Schefter, who you just heard from. As for the opener, this will be the 6th time that Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson have gone head-to-head. Mahomes 4-1 in the first 5 games, including a win in last year's AFC title game. All but one of their previous 5 matchups was decided by 1 score, and the only game that Lamar won was in week 2 of the 2021 season when Baltimore trailed by 11 points entering the 4th quarter, but managed to come back and win 36-35. At the time, it was the largest 4th quarter comeback of Lamar Jackson's career. Mahomes not only has the 4-1 edge over Lamar, but he's also played much better in the matchups. Mahomes has an 86 QBR with 13 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. Lamar, a 53 QBR with 5 touchdowns and 3 picks. This matchup's going to be different from last year's because Mahomes is going to have some new weapons. The Chiefs signed wide receiver Hollywood Brown in free agency and traded up to draft wide receiver Xavier Worthy in the 1st round last month. They joined Rashee Rice as the projected starters. Of course, the big question mark is Rice, who is currently facing 8 charges for his alleged involvement in a multi-car crash that left at least 7 people injured. He was also involved in an alleged assault at a Dallas nightclub last week. So a lot of bad news off the field for Rashee Rice this offseason. Adam, what do we know about how the league is handling its investigation into Rice?
Well, Dan, the league is certainly looking into it, and it certainly sounds like the Chiefs are bracing for a multi-game suspension for Rashee Rice, and it doesn't look like he's going to be a part of that start of the season, that opening night game against the Baltimore Ravens. Again, the personal conduct policy mandates certain discipline be in place no matter what, and the facts right now are such that they are against Rashee Rice, and we'll see what the investigation turns up, but there's certainly concern within the organization considering what has happened this offseason, considering that alleged harassment last week, the latest involvement, considering the history that he had in college as well. There is a slew of incidents here that the league is sifting through that is likely to result in a multi-game suspension, and there's a real possibility that the Chiefs know that they'll be without Rashee Rice, setting up, of course, the Hollywood Brown revenge game against the Baltimore Ravens, his former team. He signed with the Chiefs this offseason. They're going to need him. They're going to need Xavier Worthy. They're going to need these other players to step up in the absence of Rashee Rice.
Yeah, obviously very serious stuff that Rice is dealing with. When keeping it to football, though, Dan Orlovsky, Rice led the Chiefs in touchdowns, receiving touchdowns last year. Was second to Travis Kelce in receptions and yards. So how big a deal is it if they don't have him?
Huge. If this is an extended period of time for Rashee Rice and the Chiefs, this is a big deal. First of all, number one, this football team won the Super Bowl not because of their offense. A little bit of like the situational greatness from Patrick Mahomes. This was the 14th ranked pass offense in football last year, 14th ranked offense. So they won it because of their defense. Number two, he became their 1B in the pass game. Obviously, Travis Kelce, 1A, he was their 1B. Not only was he their go-to guy, he did so much dirty work. We showed clips of him chipping and getting out almost like an extra tight end. He was the possession guy. And as much as I love the addition of a Hollywood and Xavier Worthy, they would be very much so at the wide receiver spot, lacking that possession, tough, do the dirty work wide receiver. And if he's out for an extended period of time, like, that is going to be a massive loss for this pass game.
I will say this. Dan brings up a lot of good points, but don't lose sight of Andy Reid. I mean, sure. Andy Reid is a professional football coach. He came into the league, obviously, as an offensive lineman. They drafted a tight end in the 4th round, Jared Wiley, right? So I can see Kansas City opening day against the Ravens coming out with 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and 1 back. And that's difficult in today's world, playing against 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, and 1 back. You don't see that a lot. To adjust on defense is a headache to play 2 tight ends. And Dan knows this, especially in the backside of your offense. When you set up a wing with 2 tight ends and the receivers are flanked to the right and 1 back, that's a difficult matchup for defenses. So I see this young tight end being involved in this offense. And remember, they're playing at home with Patrick Mahomes, obviously the best quarterback on the planet, and they have an advantage in Arrowhead Stadium. 3rd year in a row we've entered the season with questions about Chiefs wide receivers. And the last couple of years, it's worked out all right for them in the end.
They've escaped it. Yeah, they've escaped it.
If I remember right.